Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today. We're going to wait just a minute or two to make sure we get some people in here, and then we'll get started. But thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to probably about a full hour's worth of information about Microsoft Cloud. So just hang tight, and we will get started here in about 30 seconds. I saw a thumbs up. That means there's someone out there. That's wonderful. All right, 2 thumbs up. That means it's time to go. That's what I was waiting for. All right, everybody, welcome to the webinar today. We're really excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking all about Microsoft CSP today. So we've got some great information and some great presenters. So without further ado, my name is Bill Daber. I'm a senior marketing manager here at D&H, and I have the extreme privilege of being joined by Bill Kay, who's one of our cloud sales specialists, and Phil, who is our senior sales engineer from Azure. If you guys have ever worked with these guys, they are fantastic. So very thankful to have them on to share some information with us today. And I don't know if you guys in the resources pane on the right, Phil starred opposite of me in Azure Isn't Scary, which is a webinar series where I learned a lot about webinar. That was actually a real thing. I didn't know much about that. So if you saw that, great. If you didn't, they're short. It's Phil and I. It's me not understanding things and then understanding things. And we've had a lot of feedback from our partners who really enjoyed those videos. So today's agenda, actually, Bill, Phil, you want to just say hi?
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining.
All right. We have a pretty full agenda today. We're going to go over a quick Copilot opportunity overview. There were some Microsoft announcements recently that have not big changes, but certainly things to know about and what may affect you guys in the near future. We're going to talk a little bit about solutions partner designations. Phil's going to talk a little bit about an Azure VMware opportunity that's available, and then I'm going to go over some of the more recent marketing tools that are going to be available here in the very near future to hopefully help you guys accelerate your practice. Just want to point out that in the resources tab, you're also going to find a webinar resources guide. That is a PDF that has links to almost everything we're talking about today. Most of them are official links to Microsoft documents. So if you have any questions or want to know more about something, that document is well worth downloading, and those links are current. In addition to that, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the questions box. If those questions pop up, I'll be fielding them while Phil or Bill are talking, and we'll pop them up when they feel like it's the right time. So without further ado, I am going to pass things over to Bill Kay to go over a little bit of Copilot. Bill, thank you for joining us today.
No problem at all. There we go. All right, so there are a few different flavors of Copilot that can open up sales opportunities for you. The first one is going to be the free chat function. It's going to be free to most Microsoft 365 licenses. The nice thing about that is it does have enterprise level data privacy and security. The most common version of Copilot you're going to see is Microsoft 365 Copilot, which has a deep integration into the apps, and it's an easy upsell opportunity. So you can easily talk your customer into going to an E3 or E5, or on the SMB side, business standard or premium. Beyond that, with Copilot Studio, there is the ability to create custom AI agents that you could customize to your customer's organization. All right, now we'll get into some of the recent announcements. 3-year subscription terms, extensions on the promotions, which is the best piece, and benefits incentive changes. Okay, so Microsoft recently announced that they're introducing 3-year subscription terms for a couple different SKUs, E3, E5, and Teams. Problem with that is, due to the size and nature of the contracts, they're not going to be added as a standard offering through D&H. But if there is a situation where it would be the best option, reach out to the cloud sales team and we'll be happy to assist you with working that opportunity. All right, here's the good piece. Microsoft has extended the following promotions through the end of September. So any net new customers will get 15% off of a Microsoft 365 E3 or E5, and that's up to 2,400 seats. There's also a 15% discount on new Copilot subscriptions. The minimum seat count on that is 10, and then that goes up to 2,400 as well. So if you guys would like any more information about Copilot, Copilot agents, or any of the current promotions Microsoft is offering, answer this question and a member of our team will reach out to you. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Phil.
Thanks, Bill. Let's talk about some of the Microsoft incentive changes. So the biggest one obviously was that the Legacy Silver, Gold, and Action Pack packages are no longer available. That was as of January 22nd of 2025. If you had an active Legacy before that date, those incentives will remain until 9/30/2025. So what's replacing those? There are 3 partner benefit packages: Launch, Core, and Expanded. Now those, as you can see, are available for purchase with the prices listed. That is direct through Microsoft. And each package is going to have different levels of licenses, Azure credit, pre-sales support, marketing resources. So take a look at those and see what's going to be the best fit for your business. Then, of course, there is the solutions partner designations. So that's going to include everything in the partner benefits as well as your incentives. And by incentives, I mean your rebate and co-op dollars that are available to you. So before we dive into how to get the solution designation, let's take a look at an Azure opportunity and what can be earned with the incentives as part of a solutions designation. So this is a very basic example of $1,000 a month in Azure consumed revenue, with about 25% of the workload being allocated to a reserved instance or savings plan. So on the left, we can see that this particular partner is receiving a 10% front-end margin on that $1,000 a month. Why it says 7.5 is, again, because a portion of that is in a reserved instance, which is a different margin than that front-end margin. However, on the right, you can see that these incentive percentages are applied to that. Customer add, 15%, which is actually 100% rebate. It's not a 60-40 split of rebate and co-op. Consumption, 4%. The reservation and savings plans, 10%, and then, of course, the front end, 10%. But you can see that that $900 went to over $3,000 over that year. So that's where the solution designation really adds value and maximizes your earning potential.
So, Phil, do you mind if I jump in and ask a question on that slide real quick?
Sure.
So this was one of the things that, we're trying to get the word out about, and I just want to talk about this for a second here. Right now, I know that D&H, and I know that a lot of our partners, through some of those old programs that are expired, were earning the marketing co-op dollars that they would be able to spend. With these changes, I think it's worth pointing out that you need these new designations now, not only to get the kind of deals that you see on this slide, but even to earn those co-op dollars are now tied to getting these partner designations.
Correct.
Yeah, and just like we have an Azure example here, this kind of thing scales to modern work as well. So without a modern work designation, anything that you might have earned or any of those incentives that you might have qualified for through silver or gold, along with the earnings, those now are only available through the designations.
Correct. In the modern work, the earning levers will look a little different and have different percentages based on the modern work and the workloads there, but the same methodology applies.
Yeah, like I said, this to me was one of those times where when we were talking about this beforehand, it was just kind of shocking to me to see how much more you could make on the same job with a designation, whether it was Azure or Modern Work. So I think then the recommendation would be when it makes sense, because there is a cost associated with the designation, but it does make sense and literally pays to get the designation. Sorry to jump in there, but that was the part that I took away earlier that I think was very important.
Yeah, great question. And to your point, yes, the solution designation does have a price tag associated with it, but that can very easily be made up even in one deal.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yep. So how do we get a solution designation, right? So there's two tracks, and today we're going to focus on Modern Work and Azure. There's SMB and Enterprise. Most are going to fall under SMB. For Azure, you would have to do 1 million in ACR over the last 12 months to fall into Enterprise. So we'll be focusing on SMB for this webinar, but you can see that the magic number is 70 points out of 100. How you earn points is in 3 categories: performance, skilling, and customer success. So performance is going to be net customer adds. For example, 3 net customer adds over $500 ACR per month, that gets you 30 points. The skilling is what we'll cover next. And then customer success is usage growth and the number of deployments. For example, 20% ACR growth year over year, as well as 5 new deployments in trailing 12 months, plus virtual machines. So for Azure, that's a very common workload that is going to qualify for the customer success. So let's take a look at the Modern Work skilling example. So many of you may be looking at your solutions designation and you're hitting the performance and the customer success, but your gap is now on the skilling side. So we are here to help identify that gap and give guidance around appropriate certifications to achieve to get that designation. So when we look at Modern Work, you can see that we have 6 intermediate certs there, as well as 1 advanced. So depending on where you're at points level, you may need just 2 people to get, say, the MS 900, 365 fundamentals. And then one other person or one of those same 2 could also then get the MS 102, which is the advanced certification. So you do have to have at least intermediate checked off as well as advanced in the certifications for the skilling categories. Now, Bill Kay on our team has went through this, and he's going to provide some feedback just on his skilling so far and give a little advice around that.
Yeah, so in my experience, I started with the MS 900, and then I moved on to the MD 102, and I'm currently working on my advanced certification with the MS 102. What I've seen is on that MS 102 exam, it's going to pull from all of these prerequisites. So it would be very beneficial to you to have knowledge in all of those before you go to take the MS 102 exam. That's pretty much the best advice I have. I'll pass it back to you, Phil.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. And again, the MS 900, definitely, start there. That is truly your fundamental starting point, and we're here to help. We're also partnered with New Horizons, which you'll learn about here shortly, to give training to prepare for these exams. And these are 4 5-day long courses that really prepare you. So when we look at Azure, this is again another example where the AZ 104 is considered a prerequisite. However, with the SMB track, that now counts for points. So I could take the AZ 104 and then move up to the AZ 305, which is required as an advanced and get points for that. And then I'm left with 4 other certs that are somewhat considered optional. But if I'm sitting at 60 out of 100 points and skilling is my gap, I essentially need 3 certs because each one is worth 4 points. So again, this is all available in Partner Center. We are here to help you navigate that and understand the workflow and what is required. And then we're also providing skilling around that through New Horizons. So again, don't hesitate to reach out with any questions around the skilling. So, survey question 2. Would you be interested in chatting with a sales specialist about your solution partner designation status?
So, Phil, I'll jump in here. Last time, we'll give everybody a little bit of time to answer the question that's on the screen, because I think as soon as you click off it goes away. We didn't think about that during our run through. So,
Sure.
You guys just take a couple seconds. So thanks for sharing that. I think I'm up next, right, Phil?
I believe so.
Oh no, I'm not.
There's
You still
actually-
have one more slide that I only
Yeah.
kind of understand. So it's probably
we
best
have
to-
we have another survey as well.
All right, we'll give a couple more minutes. And ultimately, if you missed the window here on answering the survey, don't worry about it. We're going to send out a follow-up email that will give you the opportunities for most of these things. So I think we're probably good to move to the next survey question.
Okay. So, as mentioned, our partnership with New Horizons, we are going to be providing a limited number of seats for 4-day courses around AZ 104. Remember, that is the initial prerequisite for Azure infrastructure designation, and then MS 102, which is the advanced cert for modern work. So if you would like to be notified when the dates are announced, go ahead and answer yes or no.
And I'll throw in there, in the Microsoft Resource Guide, we are working with New Horizons to get a pretty substantial discount on their courses. So while we will be able to host a couple of classes, we do have a special D&H portal where you can log in and get training for any of these certifications, not just the AZ 104 and the MS 102, but any of the certifications that you might need in search of a partner designation. You can find the link in that document, and I think it's like almost 50%. Is it more than that? It's about 50%, yeah. I think, right?
Yeah. And the site breaks down the courses by the solution designation quite well. So please check that out, and again, reach out with any questions.
And just one final plug for them, Bill K, if you're still on. I believe that you took the training courses in your path towards getting these certifications, and you said that they're pretty high quality, and there's even some interactive elements.
Yes. So beyond the actual instruction, you get access to a sandbox for, I believe it's 90 days for each course, where after you learn a process, you go through and physically do it. So it's tremendous for your learning.
Yeah. The last thing that I'll throw out there, and you guys need to correct me quickly if I'm wrong about this, and it's not in writing, but I believe that until the end of September, we're willing to cover your certification exams for partners, or am I making that up?
No, we do have vouchers available, but you're correct. September 30th is the cutoff.
Excellent. Well, so in that case, if you guys are interested in the certs, not only should we're going to try to do training for these designations, but also if you have members of your team who are looking to get certifications, make sure you reach out to us, and we will help you cover the cost of those certification exams until the end of September. So I'm glad that I was correct about that and didn't just write a big check that I might not be able to cash. I think you have one more slide. Thanks.
Yep. So finally, not necessarily a CSP update, but when we talk about Azure and VMware, obviously we have been fielding many requests around customers' dissatisfaction with VMware, cost increases, long-term commitments, and we're fielding questions. What are my options, right? Other than VMware. When we talk about Azure, you actually have 3 different paths to potentially choose. Azure native, think of that as simply just migrating away from VMware and running locally in Azure, right? Azure local, however, is a great fit because if you still require hardware on-prem and you need a hypervisor, Azure local can provide that. You use the Azure control plane to deploy virtual machines on the hardware on-prem. And finally, Azure VMware solution, again, it is running in Azure in the cloud, but that does include licensing to VMware across 3 hosts. And that gives you that same look and feel of VMware that you're already used to without any kind of commitment to VMware. And finally is Hyper-V, which is part of your server OS licenses that can be purchased through CSP. So again, just know that these options are out there, and we're here to talk about them with you and your customers and hopefully find a good fit.
All right. I think that means that I am up. So just before I get started, I'm just going to throw this out here. So Phil and Bill, in our questions and answers, there's a question from Bill, funny enough. If you wouldn't mind taking a look at his document, I think we can address his question at the end. But if you want to review that, we kind of addressed it, but there's probably 1 or 2 more things we would need to talk about. Okay, so I'll get started with my part. So Capometrics and our Copilot and Azure assessment. So I'm going to talk about a couple of marketing tools that D&H is investing in that we are making available to you in order to help you identify opportunities as well as maybe make the sales motions a little easier. So we're going to start with our Capometrics survey. What this is, we're going to launch 2 updated assessments in July. They're not surveys, they're assessments. And there's one for Copilot, and there's one that we're calling the Modern IT Framework Assessment, which is essentially a way to identify what Azure tools might be useful for a partner. So the benefits here, there's benefits for your customers. So the survey is very fast. You can send it out to multiple people at an organization. So that kind of gets you a little bit more information. I'm going to show off what the surveys look like. It's probably worth jumping forward so you can kind of see visualize the process a little bit better. So let me push the next slide forward. So what it starts with is you will send your partners a link, whether you send that by email, whether that you host that link on your website, whether you share that through social media. You have the survey, and the nice thing about the survey is in just a couple of minutes, you get to put your logo on it. You can change the banner if you want it to be more specific to your organization. You can change the colors. We add your terms of service and privacy. Setting up the survey itself takes about 5 minutes. Once you create the survey and you send it to your partners, it asks them about 20 questions, less than 20 questions, just around for Copilot, obviously, where their organization is at in terms of what would be useful to them and what kind of business processes they do regularly. And there's also the modern IT framework is what kind of processes and what kind of technology they have. So are they running things on-prem? Do they already have a hybrid approach? What are they, how is their business set up? So once they fill that survey out and submit it, a couple things happen. On the last screen, it gives them like a little bit of immediate feedback, the top 2 recommendations and a couple of notes from the assessment. And then if they provide their email, they get about a 10-page full assessment, consultative assessment of the answers that they gave. And so the nice thing about that is it does a couple things for both you and it does for your partner as well. So partners, the people that you're working with, you provide them this instant feedback, right? They take a survey and immediately they get some insights about their business. They learn a little bit. And the other thing is it's automatically going to include the promotions that are available through D&H. So I think about Copilot, in addition to the 15% off, 10 to 2,400 seats, I believe that we also have some licenses through AvePoint for P&I, which is, I think it's a 30-day license, or Bill, you might correct me, it might be longer than that. that takes a look at permissions and identifies what parts of an environment might need a little work before deploying Copilot. So when the partners get that report back, your customers get that report back, they're going to see not only what things to consider if you were thinking about it, but how it would benefit their business, as well as, hey, if I were to get it through you, who sent me the survey link, here's all the deals and incentives that I would be eligible for. So we think that packaging all that together makes a really compelling piece for your partner, for your customers to get their hands on, because it's all right there in front of them, and it's already talking about discounts where they're going to have to go strike up a brand new conversation to get that kind of information out of other people. So your customers, we think, are really going to like seeing the reports, and we think that there's some good feedback in there. The benefits for you is that it's easy to deploy in minutes, as long as you've got a logo handy and you know what your company's colors are, and maybe you have somebody whip up a banner. You can have your links ready to go in just a couple minutes. You get to see the reports, or you get feedback on the reports when the customers fill them out. So you get to see what they're going to see, which helps you frame your conversation with your partner. Again, putting your branding alongside of any incentives that might be available in the market, as well as all the recommendations automatically delivered, is just a great sales support piece to have. The automation part of it is very nice, in that it's tracked through the portal, and these are all things that come very easy with the platform. The other nice thing, you can create multiple links. So if this is somewhere you want to spread everywhere, you can have a different link for your website versus your social media versus different sales people on the team. And that way you can say who's sending the link out and where is it getting traction, because maybe you learn how to make it get traction in some of the other vehicles you're using better. And then finally, we have direct contact with Capametrics. So we have had the Capametrics team on calls with our partners going over some of the features of the platform. There's a little bit more here than what I talked about, but this is the great introductory point to the surveys. And so I do see there's a couple questions here in the chat. Let me see. Who sees the data from the survey? We've seen some tools where data privacy is limited. So in this survey, the only people who get the results are you. So when you use your link and set up the survey, the partner who enters their email will get it, and then you will get it, and it uses your organization's privacy policy. So part of signing up for the site is adding the privacy policy from your company. And so whatever rules you use to govern the privacy policy, you get the data. So that's why D&H, we won't see it, just you and your team will see the data that comes through. And do the customers see the promotions on the report is another question I got. So we would not put actual prices on there. What we would do is list those, we would list, like, if there was a value. So for example, if we said that, AvePoint P&I is a $300 value and they're going to get it for free if they get their Copilot seats through your organization, we would probably include in there a $300 value, but no prices, nothing like that gets put onto the report. It's simply just, the 15% discount that might be available on Copilot, or, any of the other stuff that might launch that we would make available through our team. So those were the two questions I saw first, and I'll just kick back through the other slide real quick so you can see it again. Again, you get a really nice customized landing page, your logos. It looks like it came from your organization, so you're not, other than the URL, it is, you're sending them to a place that looks familiar to them because they're familiar with you. And then the report that comes out is the same. It has your logo, your recommendations, and your contact information. So we hope the Capametrics survey seems like it might be something that's interesting to you. And if it gets some traction, we're looking at some other options for getting these kinds of assessments out in front of you and, by extension, your customers. So I will leave the poll up for just a minute. Anybody, if you're interested in setting up your Capametrics assessments and being able to personalize those and send them out, they're going to launch early in July. So if you are interested in getting more information about that, just click yes there in the webinar screen, and we will make sure that when that information is available, it is sent out to you. Give it another 10 or so seconds. And then we are actually moving through this pretty well today. And I think it's because I asked all my questions about everything in the dry run. So we're actually a little bit ahead of schedule today. All right. So the last thing I have to talk about today is Enlift leads. So available to you, if you're familiar or not, you have access to Cloud Ascent data from Microsoft. And in the webinar resource guide, there's a link that shows you that. And what that is, it's scoring by Microsoft that kind of identifies what partners are using and what might be valuable next steps. And we've been working alongside Microsoft and a company called Enlift to take a look at D&H data combined with the Cloud Ascent data from Microsoft, and then using Enlift to kind of combine and synthesize all that data to provide actionable leads for a lot of the people on this call. And we looked at 4 opportunities, and I know that there's probably been some lead distribution in the past through D&H, but I think that with this one, what we're going to be able to turn over to you is going to be hopefully very valuable. So we'll take a look at what that looks like. So the leads that you would get are measured. There's several metrics. So there's fit. How likely is the service going to be to benefit the partner? So this is based on a couple of things. It's based on first and third party information on their existing technology, their organization size, the industry in which they do business. So that information comes, again, across from D&H, comes from Microsoft, comes from Enlift's third party. And so we kind of take a look at something and we say, okay, well, would Copilot be a good fit for this organization? They do a lot of customer service, so maybe an agent would be a good fit. So that's going to be marked as a high fit. So when you get the, so this is just terminology that you're going to see in the leads. How likely would the service be to benefit the partner? Intent is primarily data that is delivered through Enlift. They have access to proprietary third-party data that I'm sure that they purchase from a lot of different organizations that allow them to determine if somebody who is associated with an organization has been looking at certain technology products across the channel and across different venues. We as saying D&H don't have a ton of visibility into exactly what those are, but they have interest signals that they measure, and it feels like they're not all listed as high, so it feels like there probably is a little bit of magic behind those numbers. But the intent signal goes into part of what the deal suggested action is, and finally the deal value. So the deal value is calculated based on how big is the organization, what is the solution that you're planning on selling, and what is maybe the term or the length of time. And so you'll see in those are banded by yearly deal value band. And then there's suggested action. So basically, once you take the fit, the intent, and the deal value, they put all those together and they mark an organization or an opportunity as either act now, which means it's a high fit. There may or may not be high intent, but it's worth engaging the organization about the opportunity. Evaluate is when you get medium to high signals across fit and intent. And the idea is it's probably worth reaching out to the customer, starting a conversation about the solution at hand, and just seeing maybe it is going to lead to something that becomes a sale. Nurture is when you have moderate to low scores for fit and intent. And so the idea here is just providing information where it's needed, or that might be a great partner to add into if you're doing regular outreach. Maybe you wouldn't be talking to them about this. You can go back and add these leads to those kind of, I don't want to call them passive outreach, but those kind of larger campaigns just to get information in front of them. And then there's the educate part. So this is where low fit scores, low intent scores, this is what we would consider planting seeds, at the end of a call, just to, one day, maybe we can get you with Copilot, just stuff like that. But educate is definitely probably the lowest priority leads you would want to go to. And just by the name, you would want to start with act now as your highest priority leads, and, down the scale to educate. So what do these leads look like? There's a lot of text on the slide. Don't try to squint because I'm going to show you what they look like, but this is what the leads would look like when they were sent to you. So what I will tell you is the process for getting these leads is going to be to, there's going to be a poll question coming up where you could say, I would like these leads, and we can send them out along with kind of an explainer document. But the way the leads work is there's the data we got. And when you look at the Cloud Ascent data, there is a lot there potentially. I know that the data we got back from Enlift was over 90 columns wide. and they were, the labeling was a little off. What we've done is we've taken all of that information and put it into essentially a text summary of the situation for the partners that we would have leads for you for. So in this circumstance, you'll see that we tried to pare the data down to make it just useful and to the point. So you'll see, and these are all going to be partners that you are already doing business with. So that was where the D&H data came from. So, so we'll have, the name of your name will be listed in there. You'll have the name of the partner, the domain of the partner, the approximate size of their organization, where they're from. If the data was readily available, their renewal dates for CSP, their tenant ID will be in there. And then what you'll see is there's 2 columns for each of those 4 opportunities we talked about. So I'm going to jump back just so you can see those again real quick. There's 4 opportunity areas, and they're scored in each one. So there's modern work, there's Copilot, there's Dynamics 365, and there's Azure. So when we go to talk about these leads, what you're going to see in those summary columns that we've created are the group that they're in. So for example, and I'm only going to read one, but you can try to read the other ones while I'm kind of talking through this. So for M365, this was a real summary that was pulled from a report. They're in the nurture category. And so this partner is a low fit for additional M365 solutions and has shown medium intent signals. The recommendation is that you nurture this partner. The primary focus would be upsell to M365 Business Premium or E3, and the potential deal value of this deal is 1,000. So when we went back and I looked at how it came to be, the idea was this was a smaller organization, and they obviously were not even using Business Premium yet. They might have been on Business Standard, and so there was medium intent that maybe they would think about upgrading to get some of the features like security. But it tells you what the potential is and how you should reach out to that partner and what the approximate deal of the value is. So under $1,000, I would guess that this is probably a small operation. So you would have that information about these partners. I dropped just an example of each of these types of feedback. The Azure ones get very specific. So when you see the Azure results, I believe there were like 20 some services, and it will list all of the ones that potentially they could be eligible for. So those do tend to run along a little bit, and some of them look similar. There's differences that you'll note where it's like sometimes it's deploying SAP versus deploying something else, but it's all on the same kind of technology stack. So there looks like there's some redundancy. I will say the Azure ones are a little bit difficult to pour through, but if you have questions about them, certainly you can reach out to our team. But we have these leads available. So to that end, it looks like there's some questions. Leads. Just reading the questions here to make sure I understand them. So these leads, no, it's not that they're necessarily working with someone else. So the question was, do we believe that intent came from them talking with somebody else? These leads are a result of our knowledge that this is a partner who transacts with you, and then Microsoft's knowledge and our knowledge of what services they have, and then the third-party data, the intent data, which unfortunately is the murkiest part for us at D&H because that's their proprietary kind of information there. So to answer that question, these are not stating that they're looking for anything. This is what we're gauging based on the third-party data that governs what that intent score is. So hopefully I answered that question correctly for you. There's no guarantee that they're working with somebody else on this. I don't know that would be available for us in the data because that was part of the question. Can the leads be imported into Partner Center? That would be a great question for Phil or Bill, who are familiar with how leads work in Partner Center. I don't know if you would be able to shed any light on that, Phil or Bill.
Yeah, not necessarily imported, but this data can be downloaded, right? So you have the ability to go into Partner Center and get this data and pull it down. How you work with it from there, maybe you're using your own CRM type system that you could potentially import into that. But no, there is no direct import that I know of for Cloud Ascent data back into Partner Center.
Got it. We got another question. Are we cross-referencing tenants' IDs? So all of these connections are the ones that are made through D&H. So the leads that you get back, these are all currently partners that you have that you are providing services to. So the next question was, are these leads trustworthy? These are your partners. So when you get your list of leads, they're going to be names that you recognize. And the opportunities that are going to be presented to you are, this is what the larger view of their organization is, and these might be the opportunities for the next conversation. So this might be somebody that you currently have, 200 seats with, and we took, all the data was put together, and we see that it looks like Copilot would be a good option for them. This is just going to give you some of that feedback to say, hey, based on everything we're seeing, based on the industry that they're in, based on all this, Copilot would be a strong conversation to have with them. So yes, these partners are your clients. They are not net new leads that we're going to be providing to you. So these are opportunity leads for you to reach out to your existing customers to start these conversations based on this combined data set that we have between the cloud tenancy that they have with you and Microsoft. Let's see. Are there any tools to help with specialization might be best based on what you already know? Those tools would be available. Right now, most of our Microsoft tools are available through our website or through the sales representatives. So I think what your best bet would be is if you see one of these leads and would like to know what support you can get from D&H, it would probably be worth reaching out to someone on the, your representative or sales representative on the team and just saying to them, hey, I see this lead. It's interesting to me. What can I take to this partner? How should I approach it? I think that that's probably what our value would be, in addition to providing these leads, is helping you navigate them, because it might be something that you're unfamiliar with. It might be a partner's first Azure workload, but you might look at it and say, wow, it'd be great if I could land that deal because it's worth X amount of dollars. That would be a great time to reach out to our team and say, hey, I see this lead. It's interesting to me. This is a great partner. It's the type of partner that I have these kinds of great conversations with. Can you help me figure out how we can talk to them about this? That's what our team looks like. So that's what I would say in terms of tools, because those sales specialists are going to have the documents and the resources. There's not just one library that we have yet that covers all of these scenarios, but hopefully soon. Will these leads be updated and at what intervals? So this was a kind of a pilot program that we ran with Microsoft that was available to us for this quarter. We actually have a follow-up meeting to assess with them any feedback about these leads. So in addition to being able to provide these leads for you, we would love the opportunity to hear any feedback you have from using them. So if we send them to you and you review them, and if you reach out to partners, we know that it's not going to happen overnight, but would certainly take any feedback you have, because we want to make sure that as these opportunities are made available to us, we're taking advantage of them to make them as valuable as we can for you. And we had another question. Do we get access to the portal to find the leads, or will we send an email? So right now you're going to get a poll question that I'm going to put up on the screen. And if you would like us to reach out about your leads, go ahead and click yes here. And in the next week or so, we will see how many of those lists we can get prepared. We can do it pretty quickly, and what our availability is to reach out to you. And obviously, to make sure that we are keeping everybody's data safe, we will find the best way to transmit those leads to you to ensure that we are not running afoul of any kind of privacy. The upside is that all of this customer information is available to you because these are your customers. These are just these are the opportunities. These are conversation starters that you have with your existing customer base. So it's not cold calls. It's not, net new. It's what opportunities do you have to grow and enmesh yourselves even further with your existing customers. So we'll get that information. If you're interested, just drop it. I'll leave this up for another couple seconds. And then I believe we are open for Q&A. I know you can't jump on your mics, but if you have any questions, we did have one question earlier, so we can go back to that. The changes that are coming up in October, specifically around, so Microsoft made an announcement on May 1st that was kind of discussing what changes were going to happen to direct bill partners, what changes were going to happen to indirect providers, which is what they call D&H, which now they're updating our terminology. Now we're a distributor, and what would happen to indirect resellers, which I believe that most of our partners fall into that classification. So Phil, my understanding is there's not a tremendous change for the partners of D&H currently, right? The biggest change is probably the direct bill partners who are doing under $1 million. But maybe you can shed a little more light on what those changes are.
Yeah. There are a couple changes that I would say are new. So FY26 indirect reseller requirements, you need to complete the business vetting, which essentially means make sure your legal info in Partner Center is up to date and you're showing as verified. 2 is a minimum of $1,000 trailing 12 months billed revenue at the reseller tenant level. Again, that's $1,000 over trailing 12 months. The biggest one, in my opinion, is mandatory requirements of the Partner Center security score. So you're going to have a score that's provided to you that you can view in Partner Center. And there's 3 mandatory actions, essentially. 1 is enabling MFA for all administrator accounts on your CSP reseller tenant level. Number 2 is responding to alerts in 24 hours or less in average. So in your Partner Center, you do get alerts based on customer actions or subscriptions or Azure deployments. And finally, number 3, which is fairly easy, is to provide a security contact. Again, in Partner Center, that field just needs to be filled out under your business information. So again, if you need assistance with finding these items in Partner Center and taking action on them, we can help as well. But that is going to be coming in October.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. I knew that you would be able to shed a little more light on that than I did. And in regards to these webinars, just as a note, as we were prepping for this webinar, we had enough content for another 2 webinars. So I think as long as this one was well received and you guys got some useful information, we'll try to keep a regular cadence of webinars going so we can maybe next time go over that in a little more depth to make sure everybody's prepared for the October changeover and just up to date on all the latest promotions and tools. I know we have a lot of great stuff planned in July and in the next quarter. So we're really excited to get that out. And I think that being able to jump on a call like this and kind of show it off and take these questions is valuable for us. And hopefully it was valuable for you. So I don't see a ton more questions. I don't know if Bill or Phil, you guys have any closing comments or statements or anything that you want to clarify before we jump off?
I don't have anything else. Thanks for everybody that attended. Reach out to us. We're here to help.
Exactly. Yeah, we're always here to help you. I'm sure my email will be, I think it was on the introductory slide. So if you ever have any questions, Microsoft 365 related, I'm always happy to help you.
We do have one in the chat there. Phil is the man. I can confirm that is correct. Bill K is growing on me too. I haven't worked with him as much, but just on this webinar, he's been awesome. So can you recommend a good training video for Partner Center? So Phil and Bill, I will throw up real quick. Is there any learning about Partner Center? What do you think the best avenue for that is?
I actually have to give a little bit of credit here to the AI assistant within Partner Center now. So when you're in Partner Center up in the top right, beside your icon, you'll see what looks to be like a diamond icon. If you just ask questions there, the answers are actually pretty good. And it's going to show you exactly where to go and how to do certain actions in Partner Center. I would recommend starting there.
Awesome. All right. Well, with no more questions and well, the slides from Federer Shade. Can we have more presenters named Bill? I will go out of my way to try to. Actually, we do have more people on the team. I think we could probably make that happen. The slides from today. We in the follow-up email, we will make sure that some version of these slides are available. I think probably that resource guide and the resources pane is going to be like the source. All of the information that we presented today, or at least most of it, came from that document, and so you guys can use that to take a look at more in depth with more links. And so we will make sure that we make some version of this available. Yeah. We'll make something available for sure, and we'll send that in a follow-up email.
Recording as well, right, Bill?
Yes, recorded. So if you need to come back and see anything, I think it'll be a like 48-hour turnaround, but then this will be posted if you need to go back and look at something as well. All right. Well, we are a little bit under time, which is great because I think we got through a lot of information today. I want to thank Phil and Bill for joining me today and making this operation look good. And appreciate everybody for jumping on and being great partners to D&H. Obviously, we're here for you, and love doing business with you. So thank you, and I hope you guys all have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.